Hey guys, so in the next couple of videos we'll be creating ladder and climbing on ladder, and for that we will have to edit some animations, and once we have done with that we will create some cool functionality that will position the player in front of the ladder and also exit animation once we reach the top of the ladder. So first thing I want to do in this video is set up all of the assets that we will need and all of the animations, and in the next one we will do the functionality. So for the assets, if you go to Fab, which is now the new Quixel Bridge, Unreal Marketplace and Sketchfab together, all together, here just search for ladder, and if you scroll a little bit down, there is this modular wooden ladder that actually consists of multiple pieces that you can put together. So download it in FBX and then import it to Unreal. I have already done so. This is what it will look like. And then to quickly just create the material, I'll import this. You don't need to have all of the materials because there is some stuff like cavity and bumps. I'll just do the basic one. So base color, ambient occlusion, normal, roughness and specular. So this is AO, this one is base color, normal, this one was specular, and this one is roughness. Apply and save. Now we do have this ladder, and as you can see we do have a pieces that we can add on top of that. So eventually I want to create a modular ladder that will set up with a function, the custom length and stuff, but for now, for testing purposes, we're just going to do it quickly in modeling tools. So drag this one out, hold Alt and move this up, so create another one, and then do it one more time on top of that. Just make sure there is a very small gap, so you do have actually same spaces between the steps. And now just to select all of these assets, careful to not select anything in the background, just these three, and then let's go to modeling, Xform. Here I will select current folder and just do merge, and that will merge them together. Accept it, and you now have this combined ladder. We can also edit the pivot point, so edit pivot and just move it down on the base of the ladder. That will help us later for positioning and stuff like that. And now we have that done, we can just rename it. This one will be ladder, I'll call it ladder medium, because it's not small and it's not large either, so this one will be medium, and then we can create actual blueprint from this. So let's go to blueprints, items, and I was looking for the item that I believe I've created in one of the videos, and that was the base item with all the functionality that we could just create children of, and it would have everything, but I couldn't find it. So I think I'll just create a new one. If I did on the video and you have it, just create a child from that. I'll just create a new one, so blueprint class, actor, and this one will be base interactable actor underscore BP. And here we will add static mesh. I will also go to interactable items and copy the interact prompt. Add it as a child to static mesh, and then for functionality we go to class settings, add interact BPI. To implemented interfaces, go to class defaults, search for tag, and tag we're using is interactables. If you're using different one, make sure you spell it correctly, otherwise it won't interact with it. So interactables. Alright, compile and save, and then in the event graph also we can do player reference because we're using it in most of the items. So cast to player blueprint, get player character, and promote to variable called player reference. Now I'm also going to do functionality for this interact, but just in range and out of range. So in range, we're going to get interact prompt and set visibility to visible when we are in range, and then out of range, copy this, and this will be not visible. We could set up actual variable that we need as well in interact, like what type of interact it is, but we're changing that quite a lot, so we'll just do it inside the ladder itself. So this is our base item. We now can select it, right click, create child blueprint class, and this one will be ladder underscore BP. In this one, let's set the static mesh to our ladder. There we go. And now we want to be able to see and only climb one side of it, because you can see this is the back side and this is the front side. So what I'm going to do is add arrow just to point us which is the front. So when we're placing it in the world, we can see it, but you won't be able to see it in the game. So this arrow will be facing forward. I'm going to also make it bigger, and this is where my arrow is pointing, where my ladder is pointing, where is the front. And that is all, and then we can set up scene, and we're going to set up scene because this is invisible, and we're going to set up scene where we want the player to stand. So I'm just going to move it forward somewhere here, and then rotate it by 180, minus 180, so it's facing that way, and this will be the point that will move the player. Also move it to my location is started with a minus, and that is because I added it to arrow actually. So I'm going to move it to default, and then don't move it that high, just about the height of the player, because otherwise the player will try to find the space. We'll basically move him here eventually, so somewhere here, and then we can just position him based on this scene to be directly in front of the ladder. So compile and save. And then one last thing we can do is add box collision, add it to default again, and this one will be exit animation collision. So once we reach the top, it will touch it with its head. We don't want to have it here, because if we touch it with the head and start doing exit animation, it will go through the ladder. But we want to have it somewhere here, so we can actually smoothly go over the ladder and just move on the platform or something. So just leave it like this. And this needs to have generate overlap events, which it has by default. So you can just compile and save. And then to test it out, I'm going to delete this one and drag out my blueprint. You can see where the arrow is pointing. And we didn't set up interact actually. Oh, we did, but the default one, which is pick up none. So let's also go to event graph, and here after parent binding, we're going to cast to interact prompt. Yeah, interact prompt. Here get widget, interact prompt. We do have reference from it from interact prompt, and set interact type variable, which will be, we don't have one, let's set up one for climb. So enums interact type climb, and then in the widgets interact prompt, let's connect this bit. This one will be climb and connect it to here. Compile and save. Now we do have climb. Let's change it to climb. Compile. And then I think it was too low as well. Yeah. So move it up slightly. Alright, and now what I want to do is only be able to climb or interact with the ladder when we're in front of it. So we do have something set up in NPCs. So let's just open the NPC. I'm going to close this interactable items, base interactable actor. And from the NPCs, base NPC, we do have this function is in front. So let's copy it, go to ladder, and paste it here. And what do we have here? Get actor location, get look, add rotation when the actor is looking, rotation vector, and -90. This might be a little bit different because our ladder might be facing the wrong way. Let's see. So now we also need to copy one more thing from NPCs, and that is in event graph when we starting this function by timer. So just these two. So on the ladder event graph interface, when we in range, we will start this function, and when we out of range, we will clear the function. Let's see if that doesn't mess with parent binding for interact. No, it's fine. And now climbing, I have it set up wrong, as I thought it would be, because it starts here, so the ladder should be facing the right side. No matter, what we can do is we can drag out the mesh of the actual ladder. Static mesh, search for mesh, and I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees, and I'm going to bake transform. Accept. Now ladder is 90 degrees. Before we fix the arrow, let me test it. So it doesn't work here, and climb from this side. Perfect. So now let's just change the arrow quickly. Now we'll be right here. Awesome. Now no matter which way you rotate it, it will be like NPC, so it will find out where the front is, and that way you can climb. So that's ladder set up. I don't think we need to do anything else here for now. Actually, in the front function, let's add variable that we will use later, and this will be is facing front, and it will be boolean, and here we will set it to true, and here we will set it to false. Or you can just do one set here and do it from the same thing. Compile and save. And now let's move on to the animations. So this was, for me, why it took me so long to make this video, because these animations were pain in the ass. I downloaded some from Mixamo, and I have to actually get a Mixamo converter because I couldn't change them myself. I wanted to do it on the video, but basically what happens is, I'll actually show you. Let's import them. I added them to the video description. So just import these two animations, climbing ladder exit and climbing ladder up. open it, do sk mannequin, and then import all. You don't have to change any settings. I could have imported it to animations instead, so I'll move it. And then climbing ladder up is basically doing this. It's because it has movement, and it's not the root movement, but it's the actual movement of the bones that he's climbing up basically. But what it's meant to look like is you do this force root lock, and this is what it's meant to be. It's meant to be on one spot and climbing up, but you can't do this if you get it directly from Mixamo. You actually need to get their converter and then set the movement so it wouldn't actually move. But now it's done, so I have done this for you. We're not going to do it on the video, but we still have to edit the animation, because leave this force root lock on, save it, and then I'm going to show you why it doesn't work correctly still, and that is if you right click on it and we will create montage. You don't have to do this part, really. I'm just going to test it out. So in my player, blueprints, player blueprint, event graph, I do have this climb ladder up on H, and it actually needs to play it on the mesh. It's playing in montage, yeah, it should be fine. So when I press H, it will start climbing the ladder. So I press H, and you can see I'm turning around because the animation is all the way around. So that wouldn't work on the ladder, because we would go next to the ladder and suddenly this happens, you know. So we need to rotate it ourselves, and that's why the editing animations that I showed you in the last episodes will come very handy. So let's just go to, where are we? Yeah, go to this testing sequence that you created. So click here, you should still have it. If not, just add level sequence, add a new one. Drag out one of the characters as we did before, so idle, and I'm also going to duplicate it. So I'm just going to Control and D. Now I have two of them on top of each other, like that. And then let's go to this testing sequence. Here we still have animation from the previous one. I'll remove it, and now I'll just select one of them, doesn't matter which, add actor to the sequence and add idle. Then delete the control rig. For animation, do climbing up, and you can see he's turned all the way around. And why I duplicated the character is so we can have a reference where we need to position him. So let's make this shorter. This is the animation. So first we need to add it to control rig. So bake to control rig, CR mannequin body, create. Now we do have all the keys. And now you can see the root is turned on the correct way, and probably also the other stuff. So it's not the root, but if you go to body offset, we can rotate that one, and that will rotate the whole character. So on the first frame, rotate 180 degrees. Let's see if we need to move him back a little bit. This should be fine. So you can see where the character will be, and then suddenly when we need to go on the ladder, which will be in front of us, we will move to this animation. So now I do have this key set. I'm going to turn it off and key it in again just in case for body offset. Move it in the end. You can see it didn't move even if I rotate it in the last bit and key it in. There is a million keys in the middle that are not rotated. So let's just open the curve. Make sure the body offset is selected, scroll back, and then let's delete everything after the first frame. So all of these, even the last one. So you can select everything from here to there, delete, and that will straighten the curve because it only has one key. Well, this one has two, but it's on the same level. Save it. Now if you play the animation, it's turned around, so we can export it and right click on this idle, bake animation sequence, go to your animations, and this will be climbing. I already renamed it to correct name, the previous one, so this will be climbing new for now. Save it in your animation, export it, and then let's find it. So animations, climbing new. This should be now the correct way. I'm going to delete this climbing ladder up. I do have reference to this montage, but that's fine. I'll delete that one as well. And climbing ladder up, force delete. And then we got this only climbing ladder new. And good thing about editing it in the sequencer is now we don't actually need to have a force root lock enabled, because we have edited it, we have saved the animations without it. So basically that was the default one. So now we have this one done. We don't have to do anything with the other one. This is the one that when we reach the top of the ladder, it will push itself and then move slightly. And let's just rename this to climbing ladder underscore up. And we can also create the blend space from it that we'll be using in the animation when we're on the ladder. So right click, here type in blend space, and we do blend space 1D, SK mannequin, open it up, and blend space I showed you quickly before. It basically, this one is only 1D, so it has one line, same as the running and sprinting. And here in horizontal axis we're going to call this vertical movement or vertical speed, because on the ladder we will be moving up and down only. We'll set it up, and minimum axis will be -100 because we also want to go down the ladder. Maximum axis we can leave at 100, and then we need to have the animation when we're not moving, when we're moving up, and when we're moving down. All of them we can create from this climb ladder up. So for climb ladder down, we're going to duplicate this one will be down, and here we're just going to do rate scale -1. Now it goes backwards and it's climbing down. And for idle, go back to up, and here if you pause it, you can actually select the first frame and then right click, and you can remove all the frames from that point to the end. But it actually takes few tries of doing that before you delete all of the frames. There is easier way to do just one frame, and that is create asset, and you got create animation and then current pose. But I'm going to position it to what I want my idle to be. I want to have my one leg down basically, so something like here. This will be my, yeah, it doesn't matter. This one will be my idle animation. So I'm going to create animation, current pose. Go to animations, and this will be climbing ladder underscore idle. And you can see it created this, which doesn't move, so it's idle. Now we have all of them created. Just in case, save all, and then let's go to this blend space, which will be climbing ladder underscore BS for blend space, not bullshit. And in here we will do idle, which is climbing ladder idle. Right in the middle, you can turn on the snap to grid, and then I should have done climbing, that would be easier. Now down goes to -100, and up goes to 100. And now this, when we got speed over 100, we will be climbing up, and -100 will be climbing down. and idle won't be moving at all. That's when we don't have input. Save it. And that is pretty much all I wanted to set up in this video. So we do have animations now, we do have ladder, and in the next one we can set up the functionality. So I'll see you then. Bye.